If you've ever looked at any summer wardrobe essentials list and felt like you have to buy an entirely new wardrobe in order to look stylish, this video is for you. Today, I'm going to share with you 10 wardrobe staples that you don't actually need and why, if you have them, they might not be working for you. So if you want to know what options you might have and how to make sure that your wardrobe matches both your style and your lifestyle, then keep on watching. So the original inspiration for this video came after reading a Substack post, which is linked in the description, where the author actually talked about why she doesn't own certain wardrobe staples and what she replaced them with. And it made me realize that I also don't own certain staples because they don't work for my style or my lifestyle. So I made a list of about 30 essentials that I don't think everyone needs. And today we're going to cover the more warmer weather pieces, such as summer and maybe early autumn transitional ones as well. And just to make a big disclaimer that I'm not saying that those wardrobe must-haves are bad and if you have them and enjoy them that your style isn't good or anything like that. I just know that there are pieces that don't work for everyone, but they're on those must-have lists. So let's now look into the 6 most common reasons why an item that is a must-have for someone may not be working for you. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Oftentimes those wardrobe lists, summer capsules, are meant for someone that has a more classic, timeless style. And so if that is not your aspiration, you may not like what the pieces are. Secondly, you might find that some pieces on the list are too casual for your lifestyle, and so they may not really work for maybe your work life or even your personal life and preferences. Or alternatively, they might just be a little bit too formal for you and you don't need such a higher level of formality. And so they basically not match with your lifestyle. The next reason is that you find that the specific item in maybe the specific color or fabrication is simply not practical for you. So for example, white as a color may not work for you, or you might find that a certain height of a shoe or a certain tailoring design is simply not practical for you. The next reason is for anyone that is like me and likes a little bit higher visual interest. You might find that a lot of those items that are on those lists are very plain, very minimal. And it's not that you don't like the style at all, but maybe they're not visually interesting enough for you. The next reason why something may not work for you is simply that the color doesn't work for your skin tone. And of course you can wear any color, but if you're someone that maybe wants to abide by their color analysis and look really, really good, you might find that certain recommendations actually wash you out and they're not the right tone or shade for you. And finally, you might find that simply the piece that is offered is not comfortable for you. So this might be because it doesn't accommodate your curves, maybe it shows a little bit more of your body than you want, maybe you need to wear special underwear or anything like that that's more of a comfort consideration. So now that you know the reasons why something may not be working, let's look into the first item that is on every must-have summer wardrobe list, and that is the white button-down. It is often recommended that you buy a cotton one or a linen one if it gets really warm where you live. And it is because this piece seems very classic and is hailed as very versatile. It works with every color and for every lifestyle. However, there are 4 common problems I've seen with this piece. The first one is for anyone that maybe has curves and feel like stiffer fabrics like thicker linen and cotton don't actually show your body in the best way and you feel a bit boxy. I would suggest looking for viscose, tencel, silk, or maybe this softer, lighter cotton, because these fabrics will glide around your curves rather than falling straight and hiding your body. The next reason why I believe some people don't need the white button down is that it is simply too formal for your lifestyle. If you don't need to dress up and maybe you find that the button down is just not comfortable enough for your day-to-day life, you might want to replace that with a longer sleeve top. So this can be more fitted, more loose fitting, or you can even wear a t-shirt as an alternative if you just prefer things to be a little bit more laid back and casual. The next problem that I hear from people is that white actually stains quite easily, so they're worried about that. And also that they find that the white one still looks a bit formal when paired with very casual items. And this is where I would actually suggest that you buy a light blue and white stripe button down, because this one surprisingly hides a lot more stains, it is less fussy, but also you'll find that it's easier to both dress it down and dress it up. It looks really good with both sporty shirts, but it also looks really good with anything that is dressed up. And I think that if you're looking for versatility, the light blue and white striped one is actually more versatile than plain white. And finally, some people just feel that the white color is a little bit too stark against them. And so in here, if you want the same effect and maybe versatility, I would suggest looking for other light shades. So that may be cream, light peach, light pink, anything that you feel works better for you. The next piece is something that I see on every capsule wardrobe list, and that is a pair of linen trousers. So this might be more tailored or a little bit more relaxed with a drawstring waist, but either way, linen trousers are seen as a must-have because they're breathable, they're lightweight, and they seem very chic. So while I do agree that they might work for a lot of people, they might also have certain problems that you're dealing with. So the first one is that you might feel that the pant itself is a little bit too classic in this format, but you actually like the shape. Maybe you have to go to work, but you kind of feel a bit boring and too classic in the traditional versions. I would suggest then looking for a brighter color or a light pattern. Both of those variations still retain the classic shape and thus are work appropriate, but at the same time, you might find that they feel a little bit more interesting to you. And I actually have this pair of red linen trousers that I've been wearing a lot more than any of my more classic shades. Secondly, a complaint I hear often is that linen trousers wrinkle way too easily. So in here, I would suggest looking for blends that have cotton or viscose, or looking for darker colors because wrinkles are harder to spot in darker fabrications. Next, I know for a lot of people, the linen tailored trouser is way too formal and you don't actually need that for your lifestyle. And so in here, I would suggest looking for anything that has drawstring waist, maybe it's more of a straighter leg design, or even having pockets. All of those details will instantly make it feel more casual, and so they might work better for you. And finally, if you're anyone like me that has curves, you might find that a traditional linen trouser, the way it is designed, is not actually good for you because it doesn't have any stretch and thus it doesn't accommodate your curves. So in here, I would look for anything that has elasticated waist, darts, pleats, or I would go for viscose or silk trousers, which are naturally just a little bit more malleable around curves. The third piece that I see on every summer must-have list is the straw basket bag. And it makes sense because this texture just screams summer, and the color, this very, very light straw color, is also very summery. However, I see a lot of issues that people have with straw bags and why they may not be working for you. And the first one is that the straw feels really scratchy. So if you like the woven design, you like the size, but it just feels uncomfortable to carry that, I would look for anything that is made of leather, suede, or fabric. And I know that Dragon Diffusion became a really, really big brand in recent years. So I have found so many designs made of genuine leather that are still lightweight and appropriate, but they're not scratchy. The second reason why you might not be reaching for your straw bag is that it feels too stiff and so it's not very comfortable to carry. And if that's the case, I'll just look for bags that are made maybe of paper and they're a little bit softer. So I would oftentimes look for slouchier silhouettes, and those would often have lining. And so it just gives a little bit more of a relaxed rather than tailored look. The next issue that some people have is that the color just feels maybe too classic or it doesn't really work with your outfits. And if that's the case, I would look for a black version because I think it just works a little bit better. It doesn't scream beach as much. Or I would look for something that is a little bit of a pattern just like this one on the screen. And last but not least, I know for a lot of people, the big tote style bags are way too heavy. So if you still want a straw bag, just look for a crossbody or a small top handle because they're just going to be a lot easier to carry around. By the way, if you want all this information in one place in an easily accessible format, and you also want to see the 6 pieces that I have not included in this video because of length constraints, then definitely have a look at the wardrobe guide, because it is going to give you the exact things mentioned in this video with clickable examples so you can see exactly what I mean and what alternatives you might have. I've made this available for less than the price of a coffee, so click the link in the description box if you want to download it. Now let's go back into the video. Next, we have the instant classic, the white t-shirt, and this is something that is recommended in all capsule wardrobes for pretty much all seasons. And that is because a t-shirt is seen as the most versatile piece that's very easy to wear, and it's supposed to work for everyone, every shape. Now, I do own a lot of t-shirts, but I actually feel that they might not work for every single person. And the first reason you might feel that this is not the right item for you is that this t-shirt is simply too plain. If that's the case, I would go for a striped or a graphic tee that's not too big of a graphic, because those pieces will still give you the same versatility. They're still very easy to combine with pretty much everything, but they have inherently more visual interest. Another reason I feel that people don't reach out for t-shirts is that they feel a bit too sporty, maybe a little bit too masculine or too casual. And so if that's the case for you, I would suggest looking for a wide short sleeve blouse, and especially something that maybe has a bit more of a feminine neckline, sleeves, or details. Those will instantly feel more feminine while retaining the casual vibes and the versatility of a t-shirt. If you feel that the white t-shirt is simply not elevated enough, especially for going out and nighttime, I would suggest swapping it for a darker shade. So that can be black, charcoal, navy. All of those pieces instantly look a lot more elevated than white. And finally, if you like the idea of a white t-shirt, but white isn't the right shade for you, just like with the white blouse, I would say go for any lighter shade that works better for you. So whether that is anything cream, light peach, beige, anything that just works a bit better for you. Next on the list, we have a summer staple, which is a pair of white jeans. And those are definitely the more appropriate summer jeans compared to anything that is darker and feels maybe more autumnal or wintry. However, a lot of white jeans feel a little bit outdated in the very classic style. And so if you want to feel a bit more modern, I would actually suggest going for a slightly off-white shade. So that can be more of a cream or more of a ivory, but either way, stark white is never the best option. And then when it comes to shapes, I would suggest looking for things like wider leg, straight leg, or even barrel leg. All of those are more modern cuts that will instantly elevate this piece. If you like having a white bottom, but a jean feels just a little bit too thick and heavy for your weather, I would opt instead for a cotton, linen, or viscose trousers instead. They can be the same shape and it's going to give you same vibes, but are usually lighter and more comfortable. If you're someone that likes the idea of white jeans, but you're worried about stains, I would suggest going for a lighter wash denim. And we're very lucky that there's so many alternatives right now in the market, so you can find white-ish jeans that are not actually white. And I feel like this is going to be much more versatile and easy to wear for you. And finally, a common problem that people have when they wear white jeans is that they don't actually know what to put on top. Because if you wear it with maybe a very bright blouse, it can feel very vacation-y. And if you're not going for that look, it can feel just a bit difficult to style. So neutrals in here are always a safe bet. Lighter neutrals, darker neutrals, they always work. But if you do want to wear color, I would go for either more of a pastel shade or for richer, deeper, darker shades. And I would avoid anything that is too bright unless you're going for that look, because I just feel like it looks a bit too summer vacation-y. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe so I can continue to make more free content like this for you. Now, let's go back to the next wardrobe staple. Next on the list, we have the satin or slip skirt. And this is something that is often recommended to be bought in a midi length because this can be dressed up for special occasions, nighttime, and so on. However, I find that for a lot of people, the traditional slip skirt feels way too formal for their lifestyle, but they still want something that maybe can be dressed up if they wanted to, but they just don't like this shiny fabric. And so what I would recommend here is to look for similar designs, but made out of cotton, denim, or linen. Basically non-shiny fabrics. And all of those pieces will instantly look just a little bit more relaxed, more casual, but the length and how you style it means that they can actually be dressed up for the evening as well if you need to. Another common issue that I hear from people is that they worry that they can't really tuck anything in. If they tuck it, it actually shows, and they just feel a bit uncomfortable wearing a slip satin skirt because it's very thin. So a couple of things in here. The first one, you can actually practice tucking in your t-shirt or shirt in your bra and having more of a cropped design. That is going to be a lot easier because there's nothing to tuck in. You may also try tying a knot at the front or at the back, or you can play with tying a shirt around your waist and just having it in a bit more of a relaxed look. All of those don't require tucking and are just easier to wear. Another reason why a slip satin skirt may not actually work for you is that you don't actually know how to wear it for daytime. And so in here, I would avoid anything that is shiny or feels more evening appropriate. So I would go for the most casual tops that you have. So that can be a t-shirt, even a graphic t-shirt, a linen shirt, denim shirt, anything that just feels quite casual is going to instantly tone down the slip skirt and make it more daytime appropriate. And last but not least, I know for a lot of people the slip skirt actually feels quite restrictive because of the shape, because it kind of narrows down at the bottom. And so if that's the case, I would suggest looking for any designs that have pleats, cuts, slits, anything that allows for easier movement. And actually a lot of my skirts have those designs and they're just so much easier to wear, much more comfortable. Next on the list, we have something that is called a trend in 2025, but I think it is a wardrobe staple for a lot of people, and that is the wide ribbed tank top. Just like with the white t-shirt, this is seen as very versatile, easy to wear, and supposedly works for everyone. But just like with the white tee, if you feel like it's too plain, I would go for a color or graphic design or even a striped version because it's just a tiny bit more interesting. Another problem that I hear from a lot of women, especially if you have a slightly bigger chest, is that you feel that this tank top requires a strapless bra and you can't wear that. So if that's the case, I would actually look for something that has much thicker straps, so it allows you to hide your bra straps, and I wouldn't bother with a strapless bra because it can feel quite uncomfortable if it is very warm outside. And if you're worried about maybe your arms showing, I would say wear the tank top. But if you really don't want to show that, go for a shorter sleeve tee and you'll get basically the same effect, but without exposing your arms. Now, if you like the look of a white tank top, but maybe it doesn't feel elevated enough, I would actually go for a halter neck design because that cut instantly makes it look just a little bit more elevated. Or alternatively, you can look for lace, and it doesn't mean that you have to buy a silk lace cami. You can go even for a cotton lace one that is still going to look a little bit more elevated than a plaid ribbed one. And if your problem is that the item feels a bit too fitted and so it's not very comfortable for you to wear, then I would go for designs that are in linen, viscose or silk because those fabrics naturally drape around the body rather than cling to it like the cotton ones. Another summer staple is a pair of shorts. They're recommended basically for everyone because they're perfect for hot weather, they're quite casual, and they're easy to style for every single day. However, you might find that you don't actually want to show your legs for whatever reason. Maybe the shorts are just not comfortable, but you still want to feel breezy and able to move around. And if that's the case, I have recently discovered that maxi skirts made out of cotton give the same breezy effect without showing your legs. So I would go for a linen or cotton skirt in a midi to maxi length. You're going to have the same comfort without necessarily showing your legs. If you find that your problem is with your thighs chafing, I would generally look for slightly longer designs that hit maybe mid-thigh or just above the knee because they're not going to ride up just as much. Or if you're someone that likes the short shorts like I do, I would just make sure to have antiperspirant that I can rub on my thighs to prevent chafing. Maybe you're someone that likes shorts, but they feel a bit too casual for you. And so if that's the case, I would avoid denim shorts because by their fabrication, they just look casual. They look very relaxed. And I would look for designs that have belt loops, a button, rather than a drawstring waist, which will naturally look more casual. And finally, if you want to wear shorts to the office, but you want to still look and feel appropriate, I would go for culottes or Bermuda style, so pieces that are just around the knee length. And I would look for neutral shades like khakis and navies, beige, white, black. All of those would be office appropriate for most places. Next, we have another summer classic, and that is the denim or chambray shirt. This is recommended because it's very casual, relaxed, it's supposed to go with everything, and is seen as a very versatile piece. Now, I do own a couple of denim shirts, but there are certain things that make them appropriate for warmer weather. So the first challenge that people have is that they buy denim shirts that are too stiff or too thick, and they find themselves struggling to wear them in warmer weather. So if that's the case, I would look for pieces that are made of thinner cotton, maybe look for chambray or even lyocell. Because I find that a lot of time lyocell is now used to make denim and it just feels a lot more flowy and breezy and a lot less stiff. Another issue that I see from some of my clients is they like the look of a denim shirt, but it just feels a bit too casual for them and it doesn't feel appropriate for who they are or where they're going. So in this case, I would suggest looking for darker denim, which will always feel more elevated. Or you can alternatively look for denim pieces that have feminine designs, like ruffles, any sort of gathers, lace, anything like that is going to make the design a little bit more feminine and is instantly going to feel less casual. Another problem that I see from people, especially if you have more of a petite frame, is that the traditional denim shirt is too long, too boxy, or too oversized. So if that's your problem, I would go for either a cropped design or I would look for more of a clean classic cut rather than the more traditional boxy cut that you find those shirts in, because it's just going to make it look better on you. And finally, if you like the idea of a denim shirt, but maybe you find that the blue shade just doesn't work for you, I would then go for cream or khaki because they give off exactly the same casual vibes. They're also very versatile and easy to combine, but they're just better for people that maybe have a warmer complexion or maybe just don't want to wear blue. And last but not least on this list, we have a pair of ballet flats. This is something that is recommended for a lot of people because they're supposedly very comfortable, easy to walk in, and appropriate for almost any occasion. So the ballet flats might be a trend, but they have been a must-have for many years. What I do find is that for a lot of people, the traditional classic design is just a little bit too classic and lacks this slightly more modern feel and edge. And so if that's the case for you, I would go for more modern styles that have a squarish toe, maybe anything that's made with suede or more of a patent leather, and I would look for strappy designs that will instantly feel a lot more modern rather than classic and traditional. If you find that you like the look of flats, but your feet hurt, this is something that I had an issue with, it's probably because the sole is just way too thin and you're walking on the ground. So I would just look for designs that have a slightly thicker sole, and that is going to give you that separation that you usually need in order to feel comfortable. You might find that for where you're at, the traditional ballet flat feels very soft and feminine and you want to feel stronger or more elegant. And so if that's the case, I would either go for more of a pointed toe flat, or alternatively, I would just go for loafers, which are more classic, slightly stronger in their feel, and whether you choose leather or suede, both of those can be a great alternative to the ballet flat. And finally, if you live in a place where it's just too hot to have closed toe, I would go for a minimal flat sandal because it's going to give you the same comfort and versatility without having your closed toes. So because I don't want this video to get too long, I've only limited this list to 10, but in the guide, you're going to find 6 more pieces that I haven't included here. So if you want to know the alternatives for the white maxi skirt, the striped Breton top, the linen blazer, or the denim jacket, then have a look at the guide. Link is in the description below. So let me know if any of those wardrobe staples works for you purely as it is, or if you've made any modifications, and I'll see you in the next video.